The Mavericks lose a heartbreaker at the end to the Phoenix Suns. How it went down between Dallas and Phoenix. All that coming up here over the next hour on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Durant, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single game. Now, at Kevin Durant Sports, at Bobby Carella. Later on in our show, Tim Cato, our Mavericks beat writer, and our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, will be joining us live from the American Airlines Center. No brotherly love from Tony tonight as the Mavericks fall 114 to 113 to the Phoenix Suns. Jusuf Nurkic foul with 0.8 seconds left in the game by Daniel Gafford. Nurkic misses the first free throw, makes the second one. Luka Doncic misses a near half-court shot at the end of the game, and the Mavericks fail in their comeback to take out the Phoenix Suns as they drop their third game of this five-game homestand. A lot to get to over the next hour here on our DLLS Mavs post-game show. Appreciate all of you already joining us here in the chat. Let us know your thoughts on how the game went down, what you liked, what you didn't like, Tony Brothers, and more when it came to this particular game, Bobby Carella, as the Mavericks fall to Phoenix and drop to 5-4 after their loss tonight.
First 47 minutes, 59.2 seconds of that game was awesome. Would have been really cool to go to overtime. Would have been really cool to see Kevin Durant and Luka and Devin Booker and Kyrie and Brad Beal and Clay and basketball players decide how the game was going to end, but instead we had to lay witness to that garbage. Just really disappointing. Really, really disappointing. I don't think anybody in the world, including Suns fans, wants to see Jusuf Nurkic shooting a free throw with the game on the line. The whole point of the game is that the stars decide the fate of the game, or basketball players decide the fate of the game. And, you know, if you're going to blow the whistle on what might not have even been a foul anyway, you know, you got to blow the whistle on other stuff too. Gafford gets pushed, no call. Gafford touches Jusuf Nurkic, that's a foul. Cool, game over. That's great. That's awesome. Really, really disappointing. We could spend the next hour complaining about all of Tony Brothers' transgressions against the game of basketball for the last 3 decades. But yes. I mean, we don't have to. But I mean, Dwight Powell got whistled for a foul for Nurkic falling down. Like, Nurkic gets a lot of really bogus calls. He's a really annoying player to watch. But he's had 2 really effective games against the Mavs this season. And, you know, on the pregame show, we talked about how tonight, you know, it's got to be Beal and Booker and KD that beat you. It can't be Royce O'Neal, who finished with 18 points on 8 shots. It can't be Nurkic, who finished with 15 points on 12 shots. It can't be Tyus Jones, who had 17 points on 13 shots. Like, all the Suns' other players had really, really good games. And that was just too much for the shorthanded Mavs to overcome. You know, they didn't start really digging in on defense until the second half. And, you know, they paid the price. So, you know, really, really disappointing ending to what was otherwise a really fun game. It just sucks that that's what it came down to. Nobody's happy. It was really, really lame. It sucked really bad. But it is what it is. You can't change history.
Yeah, and of course the Mavericks, no P.J. Washington, no Derek Lively. The second, once again, that showed up, especially in the offensive rebounding department, as the Phoenix Suns had double-digit offensive rebounds. Luka and Kyrie combined for 59 points on the night, as the Mavericks had what was 5 guys in double figures. Klay Thompson had 12 points. Najee Marshall, who was really good again tonight, he went 7-12, had 18 points.
Should have played more. I guess we have time to talk about that.
Somebody had the question in the chat about why Najee Marshall wasn't closing the game. Spencer Dinwiddie is there. We'll definitely get into that over the course of the show as well. Daniel Gafford went 6 of 7, had 15 points. Of course, had the crucial foul with 0.8 seconds left to put Nurkic on the line. And as we mentioned, Luka and Kyrie combining for 59 points. Kyrie was especially special in the fourth quarter, when the game was tied at 100, him and Kevin Durant went tit for tat for a while there, with Kevin Durant scoring 6 straight points for the Suns, Kyrie having 7 straight points for the Mavericks. I was up there screaming my head off because Kyrie was going at it with KD. That's the kind of fun basketball that we were looking to see, especially with the amount of stars that were on the floor. But to your point, the supporting cast for the Phoenix Suns was the guys that showed up tonight. You look at the bench points in this game, the Phoenix Suns were a plus 19 in the bench department, outscoring the Mavericks 28-9 in bench points. And you mentioned Royce O'Neal was a big, big part of that tonight with his game, with the 18 points, going 7 of 8 from the field against Dallas tonight.
Yeah, Royce O'Neal scored more points in the fourth quarter than KD. Nurkic scored more points than Devin Booker. In fact, Royce O'Neal scored more points than Devin Booker in the fourth quarter. In fact, Quentin Grimes scored more points in the fourth quarter, and Dwight Powell scored more points in the fourth quarter than Devin Booker. Again, the Mavs lost this game to the Suns role players.
Yes.
And, the Mavs are already coming in the game, no PJ, no Lively. So you're already really thin, already no Maxey, no Exum. So, all your best defenders are out. So it was going to be really, really tough to guard Booker, to guard KD, to guard Beal. The Mavs, unfortunately, tried to do that by sending extra pressure, and that left the Suns role players open. And it is a really, really dangerous game in the NBA to dare players to miss open shots. And the Suns did not miss enough of them. They almost did. They almost missed enough of them, but they didn't miss enough of them. Kyrie was awesome for that little 3 or 4 minute stretch in the fourth quarter. But then after that, airball to 3, front rim to jumper, dribbled into traffic and turned it over with a minute left, just inexplicably lost control of the ball.
Yeah.
So, that was it was disappointing, but obviously, Kyrie had a really good game outside of that. It's hard to be too critical of the guy. But, down the stretch, the last couple minutes of the game, the best players in the game were Jusuf Nurkic and Royce O'Neal. Luka and Kyrie kind of, they were ineffective in the last couple minutes. So, it was a little frustrating, man.
Some of the other numbers from this game, the numbers from a statistical standpoint just show you how even this game was. The Suns went 43 of 86 from the field, shooting 50%. Mavericks went 41 of 80 from the field, shooting 51% from the field. Phoenix went 13 of 18 from the free throw line. Mavericks actually went 20 of 22 from the free throw line, so they actually got 4 more free throw attempts than Phoenix did in this game. Phoenix went 15 of 39 from downtown at nearly 39%. The Mavericks made 11 threes, going 11 of 33 for 33% on the night.
Can I talk about the last play real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot of people complain about the last play already. There's 0.8 seconds on the clock. Please do not lose sleep over plays that are designed with less than 1 second left on the game. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to feel, because everyone's really sensitive about their own feelings, and I get that. But 0.8 seconds on the clock, you have no time to dribble. You have no time to move. It's a catch and shoot, and the other team also knows that. They're not going to be like, oh, Kyrie, you want to open layup?
You want a free 30-footer? No, that's not going to happen.
Kyrie's immortal lefty banker over Jokic he had a second and a half left, and he had to take a 20-foot shot with his left hand. The Mavs had half that much time on this play.
Yeah. So
please, for the love of God, don't get mad about that play. Just don't do it. I know you want to do it. Don't do it. Direct all your anger and hatred at Tony Brothers. Don't blame the Mavs for 0.8 second play.
Which is funny, real quick, because Luka's shot was online. It was just a fraction short, but the shot was online. The fact that he was able to get that kind of shot and nearly make it at the end of the game, just a testament to what kind of shot maker he is. Shout out to our GM Ben with the $1.99 super chat. Quote, I hate Tony Brothers.
Based words. Should Clay not have shot that shot? Well, again, the other team has the right to defend you. They're going to do everything they can to keep Clay from shooting that.
And no one else in that building's taking that shot other than Luka.
Yeah, you want to you want to see someone get mad at a Mavs play call?
Yeah.
Go back to Luka's rookie season. The Mavs are in New Orleans. It would have been probably late January, early February. Rick used Luka as a decoy on the last play of the game, kept him at midcourt to give the ball to Dennis. Dennis missed a tough shot. He had actually had a pretty good game, but he missed a tough shot. And Luka, for the next 5 minutes, was screaming at everybody in the world. So you want to see someone get really mad? Give Clay the last shot.
Yeah, because I respect the idea. Ain't nobody else taking that shot but Luka in that scenario.
You could say that Luka maybe shouldn't have gone so far out, but he had to get open somehow. But again, 0.8 seconds. Don't overanalyze that. Get mad at anyone for not boxing out.
Yeah.
If you want to get mad at the coaching staff, get mad at the coaching staff for playing Dinwiddie over Najee down the stretch and allowing 6 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. There's plenty of other things to be frustrated about. The last play should not be one of them.
From my guy, Ben Selheim, and I quote, with the $4.99 super chat.
Let's go, Ben.
Tony Brothers is definitely not my brother, but all y'all are. Much love. Shout out to you, Ben.
Shout out, Ben.
Appreciate
cheers to you, Ben.
with the super
Not
chat.
cheers to Tony Brothers.
Hell no.
What's the opposite of a cheers? Can you like anti-cheer?
Or boo him? I don't know.
Boo!
Like that's but again, you don't want these games decided in those moments because again, I know Daniel Gafford's got the 5 fouls there. He's trying to make a play, but at the same time, let it go. Let it go in that moment. You've had a great fourth quarter, and again, part of that is the Mavericks, and this is another small part. The Mavericks aren't able to challenge that play either. It looked like, I don't know how you felt, but I thought it was a good block. It looked like a good block.
Tough.
Maybe he got him with the body a little bit, but I thought it was a pretty good block, honestly.
At live speed, I don't think that that's a foul. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
With 1 second in the game, I don't think that's a foul. Just like I don't think that if they would have called a push off on, I think it was O'Neal maybe that pushed off. Or I don't think it was Nurkic that pushed off Gafford. If they would have called the push off on Gafford, that would have been really funny. Yeah. But it also would have been a really disappointing way to see that game end. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Nobody in the world wants that. And yet, like, again, we come down to like, well, maybe if we fix the All-Star game, more people will like the NBA. Or maybe if we make it more difficult to make trades, more people will like the NBA. I think the NBA has a humiliation fetish because they constantly create rules and situations that make the games suck.
Yeah.
And this is another one of them. Stop humiliating yourself. Stop torturing us. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, we're supposed to have fun here.
God.
Shout out to Elliot for the $4.90. Did Ben direct everybody just to do super chats to hate Tony Brothers? Because I feel like that's what we're doing here.
It is true. He is a weirdo. You remember what happened between him and Dinwiddie?
Oh, that's right. Because he got mad at him and he gave him a technical foul because he
chained together a few cuss words.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And Tony Brothers also the same official who said he doesn't even like basketball. Isn't that the same one?
I don't know if there's been a lot of quotes that
Please
are
remind
fake
me.
that are attributed to him.
Y'all will find out in the chat. Search that and find it out for me. There was a referee that one time was like, I don't even like basketball. And he is a referee. And I think it's Tony Brothers. I really think it actually is him. Shout out to Elliot with the $4.99 super chat. Tony Brothers is a, quote, weirdo, end quote.
Dude, that is a great use of $5, honestly. That's a great use of $5.
For that $5 super chat. I lost my whole train of thought because I was like, yeah, because Tony Brothers didn't piss me off. What else? Okay, real quick, before we go on our first break, someone had posed a question in the chat as we were going down the stretch. Why the hell was Spencer Dinwiddie in the game in that moment instead of Najee Marshall, who had played really well in this game tonight? And I thought for defensive purposes down the stretch, that might have been the move because you already had 2 ball handlers on the floor with Luka and Kyrie. You probably could have used the defense in that situation with Najee Marshall, again, who had a really good game tonight for Dallas.
I don't like, if the question is Dinwiddie or Najee, I don't like having Dinwiddie in there. Granted, in the fourth quarter, Dinwiddie plus 10, but I think the maybe the tougher decision would be if you're going to play Dinwiddie, should you have sat Clay? Clay made his 1 shot in the fourth quarter. He was -7. He was getting beat off the dribble by Tyus Jones like the whole game.
Yeah, it happened a few times. Yeah,
you know, and like Clay's a legend, obviously. Like if you're gonna like, who cares? It's one game. It's fine. But Najee Marshall needs to be in the game. Najee had a really good game. Najee is one of the only players that was healthy on the team tonight that had size. Najee can make plays off the bounce like Dinwiddie, and he can defend guys like Clay, or better than Clay, but like the same kind of players as Clay can. He can run the floor. He can go scrap for rebounds. Najee needs to be in that game.
I agree.
He has to be in that game.
He has to be in that particular moment.
You're hemorrhaging second chance points.
I mean, the Mavs have been doing that pretty well all season long, unfortunately. The Suns had 11 offensive rebounds in this game. More on this game, how it went down, and what happened to the Mavericks as they dropped their 3rd game of this 5-game homestand before they begin a crucial 3-game road trip during the early portion of the season. Plus, later on in our show, Tim Cato and Mark Stein live from the American Airlines Center. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
They say first impressions are important, Kevin, but what about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. No, you can take them anytime, day or night. You can order them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead and be ready whenever an opportunity arises. With Blue Chew, men everywhere are excited to see the postman, Kevin, because when your package has arrived, your package has arrived. And we've got a special deal for listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Let me talk to you about Game Time. If you love going to concerts, sporting events as much as I do, I need you to check out Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting your tickets for your favorite live events even easier. They even got the super deal. You got seat views before you buy your tickets, the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, everything that you need to purchase your tickets hassle-free. I love going to events, especially sporting events. I'm going to WrestleMania in April in Las Vegas. Game Time was able to help me get those tickets extremely easy so that I could be able to have the best time possible in Las Vegas. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference as well. And also you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your ticket. So make sure you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Bobby, what time is it?
Game time.
Ooh. Ooh. Shout out to Kat. Oh, that was the drop for Kat. Love you, Kat. It's okay.
That was adorable.
We got it for her. What we don't have is
all right. Can we go back to complaining now? Because I'm pissed.
I mean, we're all angry. All y'all been throwing these amazing super chats in, putting your hate in on Tony Brothers because he deserves it. I mean, look, let me take it real serious for 1 second. Officials don't decide the total outcomes of games most of the time. Tonight that happened. You had a chance. You had made a really nice comeback. There were a couple of games we'll get to, or a couple of points in the game that we'll get to in terms of the turning points of this game. But you never want games decided in those particular moments, especially when you've had such a great game and a great fourth quarter. And it's unfortunate that the referee became the star of the show at the end of tonight's game. But Bobby, let's take a look at a couple of turning points in this game for the Dallas Mavericks, who found themselves down by double digits in this game. They were able to make a really nice comeback. Also, let's start at the third quarter because the Mavericks, who were down at halftime 63-50, the Suns shooting, especially in the first quarter, was off the charts. Devin Booker was absolutely spectacular in the first half. In fact, the Suns went 8 of 10 from the field off Devin Booker passes, where he had 8 assists and 11 points in that first half. The Mavericks bench was outscored 21-3. It felt like just the incredible shot making that the Suns were having in the first half would carry over. But the Mavericks started that third quarter on what was a 15-2 run to be able to tie the game at 65 and finally climb themselves back into the game. But you have talked about this, Bobby, all season long, and what the Mavericks' inability to do is to start off well in these games, and they had an uphill climb once again to get back in it. They were able to do so to finally get themselves even, and then it really felt like a ball game from there for Dallas.
You have to start well in games whenever you're down so many bench guys.
Yes.
Because whenever you go to your bench, you're going to be playing third and fourth stringers. Like Omax got in there. He missed a layup. We saw Kessler Edwards get minutes in the third quarter coming in cold, which I wasn't a fan of that decision, but you got to play somebody, so like I kind of get it. But at the same time, Phoenix this would have been, I'm trying to do some math in my head. I think this would have been end of the first quarter. Phoenix went an extended period of time with no Booker and no Beal. So it was KD and backups. These were Phoenix's shots over like a 3 or 4 minute span. Uncontested Tyus Jones layup. uncontested Kevin Durant 3 in transition when Najee Marshall missed a 3, was slow to get back, gave up a 3, missed a 3 again. Okay, so that's a brutal 3 possessions. Uncontested Royce O'Neal 3 that he made. Uncontested Mason Plumlee dunk. Grayson Allen layup that he missed, but the Suns got the rebound, and then Tyus Jones hit an uncontested 3. So that is 2 layups, a dunk, and 3 wide open threes with 4 bench guys. I mean, Tyus Jones is a starter, but like 4 non-stars and KD. You can't do that, dude.
Yeah,
you cannot do that. 6 great shots. And meanwhile, at the other end of the floor, this stretch happened when Luka was on the floor. Kyrie wasn't. I don't think Klay was in the game either. So really nothing was coming easy for the Mavs. It's like Luka, Omax, Dwight, Dinwiddie, and Grimes or something. It's like, well, how the hell are they going to get a good shot? And meanwhile, the Mavs are just giving anyone and everyone an open shot at the other end of the floor. Really, really high percentage looks. And so, the defensive intensity and the defensive execution was not there. It was a game plan I fundamentally disagreed with. But if you're going to do it, you got to execute it. Right?
Yeah, you have to.
If the plan is to make KD a passer, not a scorer, and the plan is to make Booker a passer, not a scorer, and that worked. Devin Booker had almost as many assists as he had field goal attempts tonight. He was minus 17. Okay. Bradley Beal, 6 of 17, minus 14. Those 2 guys did not do anything, right? They were worse.
Not in the second half,
Mavs,
particularly, yeah.
But all the other guys were hot because the Mavs would double team or they'd tilt pressure or stack the floor or whatever. Then they just wouldn't rotate. Or they would rotate too much, then bite on a Royce O'Neal pump fake for some reason.
Or bite on a Josh Okogie pump fake, and then he yams on Daniel Gafford.
Yes, and it's like, dude, you gotta know the personnel. You have to know the person. And so it's really hard to it's hard to look at any one NBA game or any one possession and say like this was coaching versus this was execution. But if you have if the very obvious game plan is we're going to make non-All-Star Suns beat us. That means you have to make them beat you. You can't let them beat you. Like, if you're biting on a Josh Okogie pump fake, that is a failure on the player.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a failure on the coaching staff. If you're biting on a Royce O'Neal pump fake, that is a failure on the player. Okay?
And I don't care how much you got in his bag.
Yes. If you're even getting within 50 feet of Jusuf Nurkic, he is going to fall down and draw a whistle. That is a failure on the player.
Oh, man, that foul that they called on Dwight
disgusting foul.
That was horrendous, bro. Like, Nurkic tripped over his clumsy-ass feet, and next thing you know,
free throw line. He tripped over the free throw line. They call it the nail because there's a nail in the wood, not sticking up out of the wood.
And he fell down. They called a foul on Dwight Powell for pulling the chair out from Nurkic. That was,
but like you can execute like a suboptimal or risky. It is a risky game plan. You can execute it well, right? But the Mavs in the first half did not. In the second half, they did. Far fewer easy buckets for them. In the second half, the Suns had to earn it. Devin Booker made some really tough shots.
Dwight Powell defensively was excellent in the fourth quarter.
He was awesome.
He was great in the fourth quarter.
Dwight Powell deserved the win tonight,
No,
Kevin.
he did.
And that hits me the most mad.
Because he played his ass off tonight. Like, Dwight Powell, like, we don't confuse great defense with Dwight Powell in the same sense very often. But damn it, tonight, he played very well in the interior. In fact, took a charge at one point in the fourth quarter. Like, you're right. Dwight Powell deserved a win tonight.
He did.
Based off the way that they played. But again, you got off to such a poor start. You think about it in the first quarter, the Suns had 5 guys make a 3-pointer. Royce O'Neal hit 1. Nurkic hit 2 of them. That made me upset. Tyus Jones had 1. Durant and Booker also had 1. Again, Suns led 36-26 at the end of 1. They were really good in the first half. But again, you were able to get yourself tied at 65. And then you were able to take your first lead at 73-71 with a Luka Doncic jumper. That was their first lead since 18-17 in the first quarter. And for some reason, things got so interesting for the Mavericks. We even got Kessler Edward minutes tonight for the Mavericks. He came in at the 5:15 mark. He promptly missed a 3-pointer and had a turnover. And that was pretty much the last time we saw him.
Tough position to drop him in.
That's exactly what you said during the game. Yes.
It's like, as much as you want to say, like, Kessler Edwards, just like, don't travel, dude. Like, but I think we had the ESPN and the KFAA.
That's right.
Game on, because we got multiple TVs here at the DLLS studios.
Shout out to you, Ben. Shout out to you, my guy.
We had sound on the ESPN broadcast for most of the game, and during that play, they showed the replay, and Doris made a very astute point of, like, you have to learn the Luka rhythm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Edwards was in the corner, Luka starts driving, his defender leaves to double Luka, and Edwards' instinct, probably from the last place he played, was to cut to the basket. But Luka wants you to stay out there. So Edwards is like moving toward the rim, and then like sort of halfway between a step forward and a step backward as Luka gives him the ball. So his footwork is already off in that situation. So it wasn't that he was like too antsy, is that he just didn't know the timing of it all. And that's a really, really tough spot to put him in. But again, Omax missed a layup. You had to play somebody. Your bigs were in foul trouble. So I don't know. I didn't really love that. I thought Quentin Grimes should have got a lot more minutes tonight. But it is what it is.
It is. Can you throw that comment up from Ronald real quick? Can somebody go verify this for me? Jason Kidd throwing F-bombs left and right to the media tonight.
I'm pulling up Twitter.
Yeah, we're going to need some verification.
Get Tim Cato on the phone.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Tim Cato. Yeah, we're going to talk to Tim Cato here in just a moment, and also Mark Stein from the arena. But shout out to Ronald. If that is the case, we will definitely get a report on what's happening there. Real quick, before we get to Tim, let's go to the fourth quarter because, again, Suns like 87-83 at the end of the third quarter. They responded with an 8-0 run to get up 79-73. They were able to maintain that lead. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic combined for 20 points in that third quarter. Again, Najee Marshall had a big third quarter as well with 9 points. But going into that fourth quarter, Mavericks started that fourth quarter on what was a 14-4 run to take what would be their biggest lead of the game at 97-91 with 7.5 minutes left.
Let's go, Daniel.
And again, they were able to do it.
Spread some positivity.
Shout out to Daniel. All love. All love.
To everybody except Tony Brothers.
All love. Shout out to you, Daniel, for the $10.
Kevin, I have some quotes.
Oh, you do have some quotes. Okay.
So J Kidd said, and we'll get more from Tim. We'll have him on in 3 minutes or something.
First of all, was Ronald correct? Are we getting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Jason Kidd said he liked the grit Dallas showed in the second half, but he's dropped numerous F-bombs in his postgame presser, including, this is from Town Brad, quote, for whatever reason.
That's Brad Townsend from the Dallas Morning News.
No, that's at Town Brad. For whatever reason, we got off to a slow start. It's got to be addressed. There's got to be some energy. Somebody's got to come with some effing energy. We're effing flat. Can I say something?
Yes, you may.
This isn't a fix that could be made tonight because the guy's not available, but maybe you should have your most energetic player in the starting lineup. Maybe Derek Lively should be the starting big man. Maybe.
I mean, in all fairness, Jason Kidd wasn't available tonight. But
it's true. But like that's the solution.
But yes, for
that
sure, that is the solution.
Whenever he's healthy. Now we don't know when that will be. Hopefully, there's clarity on that at some point because they need him really, really badly.
Mm-hmm.
But they were starting sluggishly whenever Lively was healthy. Like that dude is the battery. Now the rest of the team is not absolved of that, Kevin.
No, they are not.
Kyrie Irving. Where were you in the first half, man? It's awesome to save it for the fourth quarter, but sometimes the team needs you early. He was able to turn it on early in the whatever game that was recently.
What game we're talking about? Minnesota?
No, he had a huge first quarter during this homestand. Maybe it was against Orlando or something. I don't know. I don't care.
Chicago.
He had a huge first quarter against Chicago.
Yeah.
Need more of that. Luka, need more of that. Clay misses first 6 threes. Need more of that too. This ain't just Derek Lively. It ain't just Jason Kidd. Stars, you got to be stars for 4 quarters, not for 1.
And again, you found yourself an uphill climb in this game. Again, they were able to take a 97-91 lead with 7.5 minutes left in the game. We had mentioned the game was tied at 100 with 5 minutes left. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving going tit for tat over a few minutes span. Kyrie Irving scoring 7 straight points for the Mavericks. It felt like he was going to be taking over in that fourth quarter because he put it on himself offensively. But again, running out of gas down the stretch, and then the unfortunate fact that the referees decided to make themselves the show. Again, when you're getting offensive glass dominated like they were again tonight, which again, that has become a real issue that we have continuously discussed on the show when it comes to this team. The offensive rebound, their inability to finish off defensive possessions with rebounds is killing this team, and it did it again tonight. And how did they lose? With obviously the foul call with Nurkic. He was a big part of the reason why the Mavericks on the defensive glass were not effective in certain spots in this game.
Yeah, so tonight the Mavs had 31 defensive rebounds out of 42 possible chances, which isn't honestly that bad. That's about 74% defensive rebound rate. In the fourth quarter, though, they had 8 defensive rebounds out of a possible 14, which is a 57.1% defensive rebound rate, which is terrible. It's really, really, really bad. So situationally, in situations like that, they've got to get better. That's another reason why I wasn't a huge fan of having Luka, Kyrie, and Dinwiddie out there, because that's a really, really small group Luka was limping the entire game. He can't get up there right now. Obviously, Kyrie and Dinwiddie aren't going to go mix it up with Jusuf Nurkic. So it's at that point, it's got to be Gafford or Powell. But they can't get every rebound because it's 1v5. So it's just
and they were in foul trouble all night as well.
Yeah, it's just really tough. I mean, I all of that though. If they just make one more shot or get one more stop, they win the game. We feel great. So it goes. It's a long season. Just don't spare your anger for Tony Brothers, but just we'll be fine.
Coming up here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show, we're going to get to our guy Tim Cato. It's Cato's Corner coming up next year as he provides us his thoughts and perspective, and apparently the F-bombs that Jason Kidd is dropping tonight during his post-game presser. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs post-game show.
The Mavs need some energy, but you know what we don't need here, Kevin?
What's that?
New flooring.
That's true.
Because the flooring in our studio is provided by our friends at Empire Today, where you, too, can get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire is not going to promise you the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. And you can't trust those vagrants.
Just like you can't trust Tony Brothers.
Exactly. Tony Brothers is going to try and sell you a floor. Say no.
Say no to that.
My friends at Empire Today have me covered, Tony, but thank you. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy to snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
And with all that money you save, you can get you some nice gear from Rowback. Let me talk to you about Rowback. Quite simply, with the best fit, best feel, the quality of the gear speaks for itself when it comes to Rowback activewear. It's getting a little chillier outside, so I got some performance hoodies for you, designed for comfort and built for activity. Moisture wicking as well, and breathable fabric. They've also got performance polos and everyday shorts that are incredibly versatile. So make sure you use code DLLS Mavs 20 on rowback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with code DLLS Mavs 20. It really is hoodie season.
I might need to get me one of those.
You should get yourself some over at rowback.com. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have, like going to see Tony Brothers and letting them know that he's a horrendous referee. Shout out to rowback.com today. Let's go to the American Airlines Center, where we welcome in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. Before we get to Tim, I saw another super chat that I want to get to real quick. Since Tim is here, we can read that while he's here because he was the originator of the 77-cent and 41-cent ending super chat. From Super Chat Ardell, quote, "I'm hoping to hear from an exasperated Cato, followed by an indignant Dapper Stein. The Mavs were hosed," end quote. To which Tim Cato responds and says what?
Tim, are they investigating Tony Brothers?
I'm just not a very exasperated person in the most part. I'll put it this way. I think that if Dallas had a challenge and they had challenged that last play, there was fouls that happened beforehand. If you want to get mad, I think the argument is the push in the back. I think Kyrie fouled Nurkic before whatever you think of the Gafford thing, and I think the Gafford thing was close. I could see why fans are upset. Anyway, I'm not a big talk about the ref guys, and here's the thing. Jason Kidd, he got up in his press conference. He had a lot to say. He's not a talk about the ref guys. Like,
so
he's not a talk about the refs guy. He didn't talk about the refs. He did have a lot to say. That's what I'll focus on as well.
Yeah. We saw everyone wants to complain about the refs, though, Tim.
And you guys did that.
We did. You bet your bottom dollar we did. You bet your ass we did.
This guy right here, unhinged, completely unhinged now.
We saw one quote from Kidd that said, "Someone needs to bring some effing energy. We're effing flat." It's what had J Kidd all up in arms, man?
It just was asked about. Honestly, I don't remember the specific context of that question, but that first effing, and then immediately followed by another effing, sparked a press conference where he dropped about 7 effings in all.
Wow,
maybe 5, but he dropped at least 3 more in the questions that followed, or the answers that followed. It'd be very funny if the journalists were also just like, well, if you're saying it, then we're going to say it too. But I don't think that would go over well. Yeah, he was very upset at the energy. This is something that the team has talked about, that the energy is not good enough from the start of the first quarter. You're right about Lively, for the record. Yes, not available. Yes, should be starting. But it's the whole team. And Luka was asked about it. Luka gave a very diplomatic, I know I have to say that I am responsible for this as well, or I can do more to be responsible for it. But it is every player. It's every player in the starting lineup. Jason Kidd talked about how if the effort from the starting five is consistently flat, that's when he would consider a lineup change. But then he said, well, we've done a lineup change because we had injuries, referring to Najee going in for PJ's place. But he did reference, in the midst of ranting about how the energy, despite it being a focus of this team, he said, yeah, this type of this consistent of poor starts is when you would consider a lineup change. So that led to his next frustration and several more effings, which was it was all about the bench. And he says the bench stinks right now. That's a quote from him. He talked about how he tried the whole effing team and nobody gave anything. Referring to how Omax got in there, referring to how even Kessler Edwards got like 90 seconds. But he definitely referenced that. And one person I followed up specifically on was Quentin Grimes, because I think that's the player that there should be more questions about his energy, his impact.
9 minutes tonight for Quentin Grimes.
Yeah, as opposed to a minimum player, as opposed to, you can be frustrated. Like, nobody is more frustrated at Kessler Edwards, a two-way player, than Quentin Grimes. And yes, I am a believer that Quentin Grimes deserves a longer leash. I thought his energy to start the fourth quarter was good. But so I asked Jason Kidd directly about that, and he said that Quentin Grimes has not been a plus for the team, that his defense isn't good enough, that when he picks up, and I believe, I'd have to go back and look at the quote. This seemed to be directed at Grimes. Maybe it was more of an overall team direction, but he talked about how players are picking up. If they choose to pick up beyond the 3-point line, they can't just get blown by. That just basic defense stuff. So this, he said Quentin Grimes needs to make a shot. He also said that, mentioned how players all over the bench are blowing layups. I know certainly Omax did, but yeah, it seemed like with Grimes specifically, and again, the answer he gave on Grimes was half about Grimes and half about the bench. And so I need to go kind of reread it and try to parse what was directed at him specifically, what was directed at other players. But it's very clear that he doesn't feel like the players off the bench are playing defense, doesn't feel like there are pluses, doesn't feel like he has a lot of players that he trusts right now coming off the bench. That was a overwhelmingly and explicit in every sense message from Jason Kidd tonight in the postgame press conference.
I do want to follow up on that real quick, though.
Okay.
So normally Kidd will get a little sassy or get a little aggressive
he did that too
when talking about his team. Mm-hmm. But usually that doesn't happen until like December.
We are on the same page right now.
In the past, he's usually said we need to step it up around Christmas. It's early November right now or whatever. Like, that to me signals that he's trying to feel a sense of urgency. He's feeling the expectation, is trying to enforce that upon them, which is like kind of good. But also, like, guys, why can't you just do it?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, great minds think alike.
I'm serious, because there are certain points of a season where Kidd will press certain buttons. This is kind of one of the buttons that he chooses to use every so often. And the fact that he's using it 9 games into the season is a little concerning. And Tim, you can respond to this too, is we've talked about this. The four of us have talked about the show so much. You're going to get every team's best punch every single night when it comes to being the defending, reigning Western Conference champions. We heard from the Rockets broadcast when they beat the Mavericks, we beat the Western Conference champs. The Suns coming here with a 6-game winning streak. You should be up for the energy of this game against this team who's playing this well, and to come out flat like this again, especially when you're trying to salvage a homestand that you really haven't had particularly good success on. That's an indictment of where this team, I think, is at sometimes mentally and emotionally, because we shouldn't be talking about getting up for an energy against a Phoenix Suns team like this. That should not be a conversation in a game like this going into a game against Phoenix.
I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, the energy. But I mean, it's not really about the opponent. Dallas has had maybe one good first quarter. The energy has not been there consistently with the starting lineup for pretty much every single game this year, to the point of Jason Kidd getting more frustrated early on. Look, the expectations for this team are higher. That is objectively a true thing, a correct thing that I think everybody around the team understands. And so to start 5-4 and in this way, 5-4, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be better. And Jason Kidd is understands that as much as anybody, that, this team isn't the teams of the past couple of years where a slow, opening month can be explained away because moves are coming. The deadline is going to happen, that, gelling needs to happen. Like, there are higher expectations this season. Also wanted to address one comment real quick. Screw 41. He said Grimes straight up targeted by Kidd. Again, I asked Jason directly about that, and then he responded about Quentin Grimes to the question. So maybe targeted. It depends on how you see that. I don't see it. It was not an unprompted mention of Grimes. I just think that's a good question to ask right now, because Quentin Grimes is the player off the bench that I do expect more from. Whether that would happen with a longer leash or not, clearly Jason Kidd does not view it that way. And so getting Jason Kidd's explanation about why it's not happening, to me, is worth doing. So yeah, I would say targeting is sort of.
What else stood out to you from what Kidd had to say after tonight's game?
Let's see. I asked about the final shot to both Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic, and both of them basically said, "Are you saying it was a bad shot?" And I said, "I'm asking y'all if it was a bad shot." But to Luka, I was more specific, and I, said something to the effect of, "Look, I don't know how much 0.8 seconds feels like on the court. Do you feel like you could have got a better shot?" But yeah, Luka was clearly thought the question was, he didn't want to answer the question, or thought the question was dumb. That was his reaction to it. That was similar to Jason Kidd. They didn't seem to think that was a big part of the game. I'll stand by it. I think that I've seen teams with 0.8 seconds get slightly better shots than that, than literally a running backwards, almost at half court heave. But look, you're not going to get a good shot in that situation. Nobody's pretending otherwise. It's just a matter of, could they have got a better shot than that one? Neither Kidd or Doncic seemed to agree that was a realistic scenario for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree, but differences can be had.
The only guy that can really come off a screen and catch and shoot is Klay. And I think if you lined up Klay to run off a screen, the Suns would probably be like, no, we'll just leave Daniel Gafford open at the 3-point line to guard Klay. Like, Kyrie needs to catch and gather. Luka is not going to catch and shoot. Like, that's just, they don't really have the personnel to do something like that, unless a team falls asleep on a lob play or something, I think.
And again, no one else is taking that shot but Luka in that situation.
I think that somebody should be allowed to. I think that Kyrie, who was better in the fourth quarter, I think Klay Thompson, who is, has one of the quickest and, one of the best 3-point shooters of all time, should be allowed to take those shots if that's what the scenario calls for. But I agree that in all likelihood, Luka's the guy to take that shot. The other thing I'll say is, again, I'm not an NBA player. I know that's shocking to y'all. There was somebody who works for the Mavericks who has, is a former player, who commented to me right after the game that, his opinion was that the shot could have been better. So that also framed, certainly there are people around this team, around this organization, who are like, yeah, that shot was not good enough. I found that interesting. That's what prompted some of my asking of that question. Because yeah, again, 8.8 seconds is not a lot. I just think, maybe a shot that's closer than 35 feet. Is that realistic? What Luka said is maybe he could have stopped his run out quicker.
Running toward half court and not toward the ball. Like, he could have flattened his route a little bit to use some football.
That's actually what Luka said.
Look at you. That's right. Look at you.
And what's funny is that's actually what Luka said. He mentioned that maybe he could have, not run away from the basket as much and run in a different way, maybe stopped his run a little bit sooner. But it did seem like, and I think this is fair, it did seem like Jason Kidd especially was focused on other issues in this game. We put so much prominence on the end of game stuff because that is what, in our very linear brains because we process time as a straight line. That is where the importance lies. If you think of it in like a, if you subscribe to like Vonnegut or like any of these like time, paradox type guys, these guys who refer to time in a circle, then yes, the first quarter is just as important as the fourth quarter. And in fact, the first quarter is way more important than 0.8 seconds of the fourth quarter. That I will agree with. Still think that I would like to see a better last shot, but unquestionably the starting lineup, the lack of energy, and then the lack of bench options was far more of an issue for the overall performance of this team tonight than any minute thing that happened at the end of the game. And I know you guys fans don't love to hear this, but that actually does include the referee calls. I promise.
You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. He's our beat writer for the Dallas Mavericks here for DLLS Sports. Tim, as always, appreciate the time and the perspective, my man, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.
Absolutely. I will see y'all. I'll be calling in from Denver. I'll see you guys from altitude.
Yeah. Safe travels.
Since you'll be in the mountains, I can say this without being offensive. Take a hike.
Bye, Tim. There he goes, our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. He will be on the road trip as the Mavericks get ready to start a 3-game road trip that begins in Denver on Monday, and then Clay's return game on Tuesday, where it will be Captain Clay night with the Sailor hats as well. That game will be on Tuesday as the NBA Cup begins on Tuesday. Big stuff there. Speaking of big stuff, coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, Mark Stein will be joining us live from the American Airlines Center. His thoughts and perspective on the disappointing, bitter loss, Tony Brothers, as the Mavericks fall to the Phoenix Suns in the final game of their 5-game homestand. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
But first, I want to shout out 3 very important people in my life: Zach, Sharon, and Jimmy. Now, you might not know Zach, Sharon, or Jimmy. You might be Zach, Sharon, or Jimmy. But those are our 3 most recent diehard signups here at DLLS Sports, where we're building a community of diehard Dallas sports fans and sports fans around the nation and heck around the world that want to support their local teams and what we're doing here at DLLS Sports. You go to alldlls.com/diehard for $7 a month. Actually, for less than $7 a month, you can become a diehard to support what we do. But you're going to get a whole lot of stuff in return. You're going to get a free shirt. You're going to get a discount on all future merch purchases. You're going to discount on all events. You're going to get to read our entire website, including all of our written analysis, columns, opinions, breakdowns of the film variety, of the photo variety, news stories, game recaps from Tim Cato et al. At alldlls.com, all of the paywalled content. You are also going to be able to join the Die Hard Discord Lounge. I was in the Discord during the game. I haven't been on since the game is over. I'm sure it's pretty mellow in there. Might be a bit of a sad time. I might need to go, but you know what? We have a channel in there called Just Positive Vibes. When you're feeling down, you can go in the Just Positive Vibe channel and you'll be cheered up in no time. You also got a music channel. Hey, I'm a big playlist guy. I'm a big music guy. You want to go in and recommend any artist or send me music? We can trade music in there if you want.
Or if you want to talk wrestling, you can talk wrestling with me in there.
Yeah,
too.
You can do that. KG's active in the wrestling channel. We got all sorts of stuff in there. So there's a lot of reasons to become a diehard here at DLLS Sports. Most importantly, though, it's just like what cool people do.
It's a community.
Do you want to be cool?
alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Show out that physical diehard card as well. Tag us on social media, and we'll shout you out as well. I want to be cool. You want to be cool.
Me too.
Become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. Speaking of cool, let's go back to the American Airlines Center where we welcome in the dapper Mark Stein. Hey, let me tell you something, Mark. You've been stepping up your fashion game here over these last few post-game shows. I don't know what you got into you. I don't know if you're feeling good about your soccer club or what, but you've been coming with the fashions in the last post-game shows. How you feel about your fashion game lately here?
No, I totally disagree. I can't wait for Sunday to sit in the lounge, have my DLLS hat on. I gotta, you guys. I mean, these are my game clothes. I mean, when I go to in the NBA, my personal rule is that you got to at least have a sport coat. So you guys are getting you're going to see a lot of my closet from home games. But like I said, I'm it's been a long homestand, man.
Well,
Five straight appearances on the show for me without my hat. And tonight I was all excited because I later found out it was Tim Cato, but I didn't know at the time it was Tim Cato, that a beautiful DLLS t-shirt was left at my press row seat. So when I sat down, my Dallas Skyline t-shirt was waiting, and the night took a sharp downward turn after that.
Well, unlike the Mavericks, your fashion has come correct. But the first quarters of the Mavericks, they're not showing up in those. And again tonight, we feel like broken records when it comes to talking about these first quarter starts for the Mavericks. And again, they were doomed by that uphill climb throughout the course of this game. Eventually took a lead in the fourth quarter. But Mark, again, another poor start for the Mavericks in the first quarter against the Suns tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're 9 games into the season. This was a terrible homestand. Like, this is not the night to talk about silver linings. And, you know, Tim got into it a little bit. I caught some of what you guys were discussing, and he's totally right. There's going to be a focus on the ending and the fury about the foul call and the officiating. I love that Jason Kidd, that was not where his fury was directed. You know, it's my understanding that that message that he conveyed to the media is something that he has hit his team with already behind closed doors. He clearly feels like it was time to take it into the public forum because the behind closed doors messages haven't been getting through. I mean, this team was flat again out of the gate. And yes, you're down PJ Washington and Derek Lively, who are 2 hugely important players on a team that we know is not exactly overflowing with standout individual defenders, but it was a very flat first half. And yet again, you know, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone, this team is so deep. This is one of the deepest teams in Mavericks history. Well, 9 games into the season, the depth has been a mirage. And that's just the candid truth about it. I mean, they got 9 points off the bench tonight. I mean, you're making it really hard to win that way. So,
Mark,
look, Denver just lost Aaron Gordon when they were without Jamal Murray. Look how the Nuggets have responded to that adversity. I mean, they've been playing really good basketball without Gordon. But, you know, tonight we just didn't see really. I mean, I do want Dwight Powell's energy was excellent. I mean, he really brought a lot of grit to the table when his team needed it. But by and large, you're just not getting anything close to what you expected from the bench unit. And I thought it was good that Kidd put the focus of his fury on what the Mavericks didn't do tonight. Because, again, the conversation, it's going to be on the shove in the back and the foul, you know, but it's like, no, like, the Mavs got punished for the way they started this game, to me.
Mark, right now they're down. So we're talking about the depth. They're down their best big man. They're down their best forward. They're down Exum, who's their best guard off the bench. Down Maxey, who should be their best or one of their best bigs off the bench, I guess, between him or Gafford.
They're one of the most versatile ones for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's 4 of their top 5 or 6.
Lot.
You said what? I'm sorry.
You are absolutely right. That is a lot to be missing.
But so here's like the kind of the 2 different extensions of this, and I want to get your thoughts on both. One, if you're already down so many defenders and so much depth, like top end depth on this team, what is it going to take for Quentin Grimes to get on the dang court? And then 2, if you're down all of your best defenders, then that means you have to win games offensively, which means, in my opinion, the energy needs to almost come from offense, which means in the first quarter, Clay's got to be better than missing his first 6 threes. Kyrie's got to be better than 2 for 6 at halftime. Luka has got to figure out how to make a 2-pointer. Like, it almost, I feel like the energy needs to come from the stars on offense in order to help kind of get everybody else sort of in the flow of the game. So I'm kind of curious to hear your responses to both of those things.
Yeah, look, the first half is a collective fail. This is not just on the bench. But yeah, I mean, the bad starts have just been a constant. And obviously the stars factor into that too. But, I think you heard Jason Kidd say, the load they've put on Kyrie and Luka to start this season, it's been a greater demand than they want to. And so again, they are missing a lot, and there's no question. I mean, you can't downplay who isn't out there, but I don't know. I'm at a loss for how we can be 9 games into the season and the last 5 at home, and it is just still bad first half, bad first quarter after bad first quarter. And yeah, I mean, again, that was as frustrated as we've seen Kidd at the podium maybe at any point in his 3-year tenure as coach. I mean, maybe there was another press conference or two that I'm forgetting, but I heard a pretty exasperated coach tonight. I think justifiably so.
I'm sorry, I chuckled because one of the moments that came to my mind immediately, write some positive blank. You guys, let's talk about some positive blank. Like that was one.
But who is he? He was exasperated with the media at that stage.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly.
He did say at one point in 21-22,
or giving media members grief, that's different than tonight was pretty directed, I think, at his guys.
Yeah, 21-22, they lost games to I think it was the Bulls when Gafford was still on the Bulls, and then the Cavs, like back-to-back games. Or maybe it was the Wizards when Gafford was on the Wizards. I don't remember. And Kidd comes to the mic and he's like, "We're not built to play defense."
I asked that question. That was me that asked that question. Like, we're not built to play defense. I remember getting that answer and just being stunned at, number one, the candor and the fact that he said the quiet part out loud. Like,
that was December.
That was December. I remember.
That wasn't November.
Yeah, it was early on in the season. I remember it because, like I said, I was the one that asked him that question, and he said the answer. I was like, whoa, number one, again, you said the quiet part out loud. Number two, like, you're not lying. the way the team was playing defense, it wasn't built the way that it was based off of what happened. I do want to ask you this, Mark, because PJ Washington missed the game again. Derek Lively missed the game again. They're about to go on this 3-game road trip with Denver, with Golden State, and Clay's return game, and then Utah. What's the concern level about how much more time potentially Washington and Lively are going to be missing here? Because after what happened on this 2-3 homestand in the 5 games that they had going on this road trip here, the lack of energy that we've seen in these first quarters, what's the concern level about Washington and Lively and their availabilities coming up here soon?
I mean, look, I think in all candor, I'll probably have a better feel for that tomorrow. Tonight, that really wasn't. I mean, there was so much else going on that getting that kind of going forward update wasn't really possible. I mean, I think we did talk about it after Wednesday night's game. I got the pretty clear signal then that those guys weren't going to be able to go tonight. We'll see if, is Sunday a possibility? I genuinely can't call it right now. I'm going to have to do more reporting there to let you know for sure. But, one of the things that I think the Mavs will have to think about is, because of these, when Lively is ready to go, is starting him a consideration because the starts have been consistently bad and he is a high energy player. But, I think he's been so good off the bench and he's adapted to the bench role so well that I think that's a big reason why Jason Kidd has resisted it. And Gafford has had a handful of pretty good performances here as well. So I don't think the center issue is necessarily at the root of the energy issues, but if you're going to try a different look, that's certainly something to consider. I see K Gray motioning. He wants to interject.
No. Go ahead. I got a question for you once you finish.
Okay, you're good. Fire away.
So you had mentioned
Cato just came in. I would never go into his room while he's speaking. I don't know why Cato is in mine.
Whoa. Hey, watch the peace signs that you're throwing at some balloons might show up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
listening into my favorite post-game show.
Oh, that's sweet, Tim. That's sweet. I want to go back to obviously what Jason Kidd had to say in terms of the F-bomb show that he had tonight during his presser. And
I was not in the room for it, but word quickly spread around of what was discussed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question I have being then, if the message that he has been communicating to them about the energy and about the starts and the fact that he felt he had to bring it to a public forum, as a fan or someone who watches this team and talks about this team, I'm concerned that the message, even at the early portion of the year, if it's being talked about over and over again, why isn't that message connecting with the players given the sense of urgency that apparently he's delivering it with, that is not being responded in kind with the kind of energy needed to start off these games would be the question that I would ask. Like, why is that not translating onto the floor?
I think it's gonna be really interesting to see the next response that we get, because I mean, I don't think he would have taken the approach he took in terms of going public with it tonight if he would have gotten a response by now. So it'll be really interesting to see, to me, like how these guys kind of respond from here, what kind of energy will, and look, they're going to Denver, which we know is not a fun place to play. And again, the Nuggets have responded so well to their adversity. So, I mean, I think we're going to get the answer to your question Sunday, honestly.
Yeah, because the way that the Suns, the Warriors, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were beating the brakes off of whoever they were playing tonight, they were scored like 75 points at halftime, whatever. Like, you got to
stuck into the hall. I gotta jump in. I will be. I gotta go track somebody down.
All right. Appreciate
Mark.
you. Thank you. That's our national NBA insider, Mark Stein.
Kevin, by the way, what you were talking about. So the Thunder beat the Rockets by 19 tonight, and the Nuggets beat the Heat by double digits at home. They hung 135 on Miami. Denver scored 40 points in the first quarter, 71 points in the first half. They had 104 points after 3. So you want to talk about starting strong?
Gracious.
You better bring the juice on Sunday, guys.
No, really, and you're going, like, you've brought up the point, going to altitude to play against a talented Nuggets team that's really has found their stride over the last week and a half or so. Again, when we're talking about these teams at the top of the West right now, Denver's creeping their way up there. Obviously, what Oklahoma City's done to start off the year, what Golden State has done to start off the year, even though Cleveland beat the brakes off of them tonight. And in fact, I think Cleveland had 83 points in the first half. Or at one point, they was up 83-46 on Golden State tonight. So
yeah, it'd be sweet to start strong like that one day.
No, really, it would be when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks. They fall tonight 114-113. Last point I'll make before we get out of here. Obviously, you were missing a couple of players in the last couple of games of this homestand, but to have a 5-game homestand and finish under 500 in those 5 games is really disappointing, given the kind of start that you were hoping that a 5-game homestand would boost you with being able to have before you go on this road trip. That would be my lasting impression on this homestand, is that going 2-3 is not the way that you wanted this to go based off of what you were trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, there is the trend now. I mean, this is 9 games. This is 1/9 of the way through the season. It's long enough to be a pretty good sample size. The Mavs have beaten every bad team they've played, and they've lost, unfortunately, to every good team they've played, I guess, except Minnesota. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough.
No.
It's not good enough.
Not for the expectations that this team has.
Yeah, now, this is a team, to be fair, that is incorporating a lot of new guys.
Sure.
I think if you went back in time now with like the level of comfort that Najee has and then played that Phoenix game again, that probably would have been a better game. He was really bad in that game. But everybody else on the bench really struggled in that game, and everyone else off the bench struggled tonight too. So that's not going to change the outcome of a game, but like you're incorporating some new guys, but not a lot of new guys. The main identity of your team is still intact from last season when you went to the finals. Whenever you went the last quarter of the season as the best team in basketball, or certainly the best team in the West, going into the playoffs. So, you know, it's perfectly reasonable to have expected and hoped for a stronger start. That said, if they win this game, they're 6-3, and we're probably like, well, they really need to be better, but they're 6-3, so things are fine. So, like, maybe them losing will resonate a little more and will inspire some level of fight and some level of intentionality and some level of juice to start the next game in a way that maybe a win wouldn't have. But these losses hurt. I don't think the Suns are going to go 81-1. I think it's very likely that the Mavs and Suns will finish within a few games of each other in the standings by the end of the year, one way or the other. And having a tiebreaker over them sure would have been sick. But,
yeah, because you've lost the tiebreaker now officially for the season. But
yeah, you're 0-2 against them.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. And now you're going to go on the road to Denver, an impossible place to play basketball, maybe without two of your best defenders. Well, certainly without Maxey and Dante, who are two of your best defenders, maybe without four of your best defenders in PJ and Lively. And this team, again, when healthy, is very deep. But like I've said a million times, depth is only depth when it can be depth. There's not a lot of depth right now. 4 guys in your top 8 are out. Najee Marshall responded well. Quentin Grimes, Jaden Hardy, Spencer Dinwiddie, we need you. Where are you? Kessler Edwards, we need you. Dwight Powell, you showed up tonight.
Najee showed up tonight.
Najee Marshall showed up tonight. Everybody else need more. Starters need more. Everyone, you need more. 5 and 4 is not good enough. You extrapolate that over the course of a season, you're going 46 and 36, which is fine. That's fine. You might be in the play-in. This team wants to win 56. So like you got to be better. These are the kind of games at home you got to win. Now you're going to go on the road for a while, and those are a lot of games that you probably should lose. It's going to be tough. Can you win them? Can you do it?
We're about to find out because the next 5 games for this team at Denver, at Golden State, at Utah, back home against Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs, and then November 17th is a big one when you go on the road to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So there you go. It gives you an idea of what's coming next for this team. We will be back here on Sunday when the Mavericks get ready to take on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Our pregame show will begin at 6:30 p.m. Game time at 7 p.m. for your Mavericks as they take on the Denver Nuggets. Again, beginning a 3-game road trip that will include Klay Thompson's return game on Tuesday as the NBA Cup begins on Tuesday evening. But again, our 6:30 pregame show will be right here on DLLS Mavs on DLLS Sports on Sunday as the Mavericks get ready to take on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Unfortunately, the Mavericks fall tonight 114-113 in a tough loss to the Phoenix Suns. They'll look to bounce back on Sunday against Denver. Appreciate Mark Stein, our national NBA insider, and of course our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato for joining us on the show. And shout out to all of y'all who dropped in your super chats tonight. Really appreciate you. Shout out to GM Ben who gave y'all the edict to get in there and dunk on Tony Brothers tonight. Appreciate y'all doing that and the super chats that came along with it. Really appreciate y'all's energy and look forward to hopefully y'all bringing that energy on Sunday as well and send some of them good vibes to the Mavericks energy in the first quarter. What you laughing at, Tanner? What you?
Ben, you cannot make me stay here on a Friday night. It's 10:30. I'm a human being.
Hey, but at least we're at 10,100 now. So, hey, how about that?
Right.
We're at 10-1. So,
but we hit every milestone during a Mavs postgame.
Let's go. Hopefully we can do that on some wins going forward here.
10-2 by Sunday night or we riot. By the way, can we stop playing basketball on a Sunday? What are we doing? NBA.
Bobby's got real thoughts on this.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Seek therapy.
Because going head-to-head with the NFL is nasty work. That is nasty work. Although, actually, a Mavs game will probably do much better than a Cowboys game these days, seeing how the Cowboys suck right about now. We're good? You got it out? You feel it's a little more therapeutic? You was able to get all that
out?
I'm good.
My closing thought is, look, and I've given a lot of closing thoughts, but this is really my last one.
This is your third closing.
Hey,
you're right.
The fact that people are legitimately and rightfully upset after a loss at home to a team that has one loss this season means expectations are high. Like, it's a good thing.
Yes, we would not have these
conversations
if it wasn't the expectations where they are.
They lose this game last year at any point last year, you're probably like, yeah, that sucked. But like the expectations are super high. And J Kidd agrees. J Kidd agrees.
Oh man, I can't wait to watch this post game when it comes to what Jason Kidd had to say because it sounds like he cut it loose.
Yeah, but that means that the team believes it should be good. We believe they should be good. These are games that they should and hopefully will win very soon. If not, hey, then it's going to be spicy.
It might already be right now. Again, 6:30 pregame show on Sunday for the DLLS Mavs pregame show as the Mavericks take on the Denver Nuggets. Should be a fairly entertaining contest. Two of the very best in the NBA and two really good friends as well. And Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic going at it. In altitude, our Tim Cato will be on the road trip as well, so he'll be reporting live from Denver as well. Looking forward to that on
Dwight
Sunday.
Powell coming for your ass, Nicola. Get ready.
Again, shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. For our guy, Mark Stein, Tim Cato, Bobby Carell, I'm Kevin Gray. We're DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. right here on DLLS Mavs on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good and have a good weekend. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.